telling a bit about the background of this story is that you will obviously try to connect it with the hit with the attack on the Crimea Bridge. However, till now, we don't have any official information from Russian side or from the partners from the like British intelligence or from Ukrainians about the real reasons of what happened on that place. Same as with Nord Stream 1, Nord Stream 2 pipelines. We don't have any information on that. However, having analyzed, well, it's my personal analysis, I just checked, taking into account the principle of physics and well, if you saw the pictures of the missile hit, you will understand that bridge was not destroyed by missile, obviously not. Because out of 3 lanes, 2 lanes for cars and 1 lane for railway, from 3 lanes, only 1 lane was a bit damaged, not destroyed. All the rest is working and no problem happens. So that taking into account the principle and well, if you saw the pictures of the missile hit, what happens? It's recording. Not destroyed by missile, obviously not. Because out of 3 lanes, 2 can you please switch off the lanes for cars and 1 lane for railway? Okay, so what gives me the absolute trust that it was not the result of explosion of the car, which we could see on the video, is that it's simple physics. When something explodes on a solid surface, on the open air, all the energy goes to the open air. It will not just, you know, break the bridge as it was shown on the pictures. And it will definitely, if it is very powerful blow, so it will blow something around, which means the other lane will be destroyed too or damaged, and it was not. This gives me the absolute belief that there were, oh, by the way, the columns of the bridge on which it rests, not damaged at all. So this gives me this evidence gives me I can justify that there were 2 small explosions, which were like mines or bombs, which were implanted between the bridge and the columns, which like the result, bridge just did like that, but not much damaged. And taking into account the massive security measures taken by Russian Federation around this bridge, it's like $20 million a year for security. And taking into account that still 1 lane is usable and the railway is usable, so basically not much damage, so they can still deliver the ammunition and military techniques and the people, the army, soldiers. This gives me a couple of reasons to think that, oh, by the way, and the construction of this bridge is well known only to the Russians because they built it. So this gives me the reasons to say that it could be the provocation. Small damages. In response, President Putin declared the very same day evening that this is terroristic act against civilian infrastructure, and the response from Russian Federation will come immediately. And that was the response, 83 cruise missiles on Ukrainian cities. The very same day, as you could read in the newspapers, Belarus accused Ukraine of Belarus, Lukashenko, president, so-called president, accused Ukraine of preparations for invasion on Belarus territory and warned Ukrainian authorities that he could take measures to prevent Ukrainian aggression against Belarus. This gives us also the reasons that perhaps the attack from the Belarus direction is also under consideration of Putin-Lukashenko union. So we could definitely expect the escalation of the conflict. It could be the new troops could enter Ukraine, cross Ukrainian border from the north, from Belarusian territory. About the spirit of Ukrainians. Well, all reports I read, all people I talked to, the reaction is not where to run, where to hide, but how can I help? The other reaction is show must go on, Russia will be destroyed. So basically the people are brave, people are not afraid. People just got infuriated of the things Moscow fascist regime does to civilians in Ukraine. There's basic facts about what happened in Ukraine last 2 days. And Ukrainian diplomacy, Ukrainian Minister of Foreign Affairs, and all the ambassadors worldwide appealed approached the respective ministries, respective authorities of the countries of the world with a request to condemn the terrorist attacks of Russian Federation on Ukrainian civilian objects and on the peaceful cities of Ukraine, not on the army, not on the military objects, but objects of civilian infrastructure. Also, as far as I know, I've heard that, well, you can also read this in the newspaper somewhere, that the new sanctions are being prepared against Russian Federation for these crimes of war, for these crimes against humanity. And the job is being done to finally let some countries, at least some countries, to declare Russia as a country terrorist or country that supports terrorism, which should have been done months before. Unfortunately, till now, there is not enough political will of the democratic world to say really courageous words and call the aggressor and call the terrorist. Just a few days before that, another massive war crime was committed by Russian Federation, namely holding the sham referenda on the occupied territories of, as you might know, Lugansk region is nearly occupied, nearly all territory was occupied. Donetsk region, nearly all occupied. However, Zaporizhia region is occupied, just a small part of it is occupied, and the main city is not, is under control of Ukrainian authorities. Kherson region, however, Kherson city is still under occupation, but the other territories are being liberated very fast. So they hold these sham referendums, and in 3 days, they passed a law according to which the 4 regions of Ukraine were annexed and declared the territory of Russian Federation, which is obviously a crime, which is obviously a very shameful measures taken by Russian Federation, especially taking into account that you don't have the referendums on the separate regions, especially if you have just 10% of population left. So perhaps 5% of 10% of those people would vote for the annexation. But how about the other 90% of the people who now live in the safer places in the other regions of Ukraine? So I also Well, again, Ukrainian diplomats worldwide appealed to the partners, to the authorities of the world, to not to recognize the sham referenda and to condemn the annexation of sovereign territories of Ukraine. So that's basically the picture of the last couple of days, and I'm really sorry. I apologize again. If you have any questions, I'm ready to answer, because maybe I'm just a little bit it caught me by surprise, so I was not prepared for that speech, and but I can answer any of your questions if you have any.
Your Excellency, I think we have a question on the chat box.
Yes.
Maybe you would like to answer that?
If you please read it, because it's
okay. So the first question is: will Kyiv be targeted again?
Oh, okay. I see.
Okay.
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 Will Kyiv be targeted again? Okay. Now it will only depend on two things: if Russian Federation has enough missiles, Rudal, and second, if our air defense system will be updated, which means that we are about to receive new, the air defense systems we have now are basically the outdated ones, the Soviet ones, so they're not very efficient. That's why we only intercept half of the attackers. And Rudal missile is not a aircraft or helicopter. It's small, it flies fast and everything. So it's not, well, if we have better air defense and if Putin has more missiles, of course, we do expect more hits, not only on Kyiv, but on the city of Lviv, which, as you might remember, were not damaged at all during the Second World War, even under occupation of Germans. Kyiv, Odessa, Lviv, with all the 10th century to 19th centuries building and churches were not damaged at that time, but they have been damaged now. Does Ukraine expect Russia to use tactical nuclear weapons? Okay, we cannot exclude this possibility. We cannot exclude this possibility, because if you deal with a man who is really paranoid, you cannot anticipate anything. You cannot foresee what he's capable of, but it will be my personal analysis that he will not dare to use it. Too many factors that will prevent him from using the nuclear weapons, even tactical. As strategic, I'm not talking about it's useless. It just forget about strategic, but tactical. It's all under surveillance of intelligence. Everybody knows where the warheads are. They are kept in the special warehouse. And when the movement starts around the warehouse, it will be obvious in a couple of seconds, and then someone will receive a call telling someone that if you dare to do this, then perhaps something very unexpected and very bad would happen to Russian army or Russia itself. So I don't think they will dare to do this. However, I repeat, we cannot predict the thoughts and deeds of a paranoid. A new Russian commander, General Sergei was recently appointed. How will shape Russia? Okay, this guy Surovkin, he is known as Butcher of Chechnya. This guy was famous during the Chechen War, and it is this guy. It's I please ask the Indonesian friends especially to listen to this. It is this guy who is directly responsible for the deaths of hundreds of thousands of Chechen civilians, Muslims. So basically, this guy killed 300,000 Muslims in Chechnya. And his tactics was exactly like that, to bomb, to shell, to destroy, to terror the civilians. Because the expectations is very clear. You start terrorizing the civilians, civilians start to protest to the government and demand the government to stop the war, to sit down and get the peace and everything. So, well, this guy is previous guy was the one responsible for massacre in Syria. So not a big difference. Not a big difference. The Syria, Aleppo, you know, what happened there. It's like hundreds of missiles and a lot of deaths, children, women killed. Same happened in Chechnya a few years ago. And the Surovkin is directly responsible for that. So I don't think anything will change, because during last 7 months, we basically had the situation when shellings and bombings never stopped, not for a day. So how would we, you know, we would expect that he will run out of precise long-range missiles. That's what we expect. Could that bridge attack possibly to be a false flag attack? Yes, I explained this, but well, my point is Russians are not good at in the war, I mean the fair war, right? Army against army. Russians are not good at this, but they're very good in provocations, especially taking into account that the so-called president is the KGB guy. So they are good in provocations. They are good in like disguising their own crimes. You know how the second Chechen war started? It's like well-known facts that KGB agents, at that time FSB, like Federal Security Service, they blown up few buildings in various regions of Russia and accused Chechen terrorists. And from that time, it was declared that Chechen war will start. The world didn't react much to that. They didn't react to the massacre they did they arranged in Chechnya, in Grozny, and other regions. But this was true. They just make it look like as if it were terrorist attacks. Because people, like, can you imagine people, like ordinary people, would they ever think that it is the government that should protect them, will kill them to accuse someone else, and then to start a military operation against the terrorists, so-called terrorists? So it's repeating of the story, nothing more. What do you need for a neutral country? Politics like you fought in Dutch. Well, I think since the beginning of the war, I gave like about 300 interviews for television, for newspapers and internet and everything, and also the so it was a lot. I had a lot of platforms to express what we want. What we really need is any help. Any help Indonesian government or Indonesian people are capable of and are willing to provide. Literally any help. For example, you can donate 100,000 rupiah to the accounts that are open, and you can choose where do you want to donate, to the medical, to like for treatment of injured, or to the rebuilding of infrastructure, or to the military, or something else. It's easy. It's on our Facebook, it's on our Twitter, so you can go there and check. Any single dollar counts, and I'm really grateful for anyone who helped already and who is willing to help. Second, it could be humanitarian aid by companies, by organizations, by charity foundations of Indonesia, by I don't know, by Muslim organizations, by Christian organizations, by anyone. We received couple of humanitarian aids from the friends. They just delivered medical stuff to the hospitals that treat injured people, mainly civilians. So yes, this can be done. Like collecting donations could be done even from the accounts of like bloggers, or if you know any blogger or key opinion leader who have many subscribers, you can address him and say, well, guy, if you feel like about something helping civilians, let's collect. So people can donate even like 10,000 rupiah, 5,000 rupiah, and in few days it will be like millions and hundreds of millions of rupiah, and this will help. And it's very easy and transparent to ensure that this will not go to buy like weapons, right? It will go to buy medical aids and for example, to construct the artificial hands for children who lost their hands or legs or something like that. So it's easy. And of course, we would like to hear the words of sympathy, at least. It's always good and comforting when we hear the words of we feel sorry of what happened in Ukraine. We feel, please accept our condolences for the tragedy that just took already hundreds, nearly 500 of lives of children, only children, and only recorded 500 children killed, and thousands of civilians tortured, raped, and killed. Couple of words of condolences, couple of words of sympathy will be very helpful. As for the weapons, well, I'm not going to discuss this because I know that's a bit problematic issue. So any humanitarian support, any moral support will be very valuable. Don't forget, we have a lot of Christians in Ukraine, but we still have a lot of Muslims in Ukraine. We have around 1 million Muslims living and fighting now in Ukraine, fighting for the land, fighting against the invaders. So they also need support. They also need your prayers and need your support. Material support, financial support, medical support. Even the food kits for the soldiers, like in the army, for defenders, will do. Anything you can imagine, right? You know, we are fighting against colonialism too now, because we were under Russian slavery for 350 years. They are trying to enslave Ukrainian people. They fail, but we were like under the pressure all these 350 years. We tried to fight many times, like Prince Diponegoro, and then failed, and fight and failed, and fight and failed. The difference between the Dutch and the Russians is that Dutch at least were capable of building some nice buildings you can see in Jakarta, of bringing some technologies. And you see, after the end of colonial rule, which I really appreciate Indonesians about, you established normal diplomatic relations with these guys, with the Dutch, and you have cooperation, you have exchanges, and everything is normal. Russians have always been capable only of bringing death and slavery. No technologies, nothing good, just slavery and death. So that's why I would love to have this colonial rule over Ukraine, but that was not colonial. It was imperial rule. They tried to make us the same as them, but they failed. How is the current interaction between Russian people and Ukrainians in the grassroots level? Well, I can talk about this because I have my aunt, my two cousins, three cousins, and my nephews, and everybody, a lot of people living in Russia in different places. I tried to communicate to them, but you see, the big problem is they don't want to talk about this. On this level, majority of Russians or Ukrainians, former Ukrainians who live in Russia, they just refuse to talk. If you call them, they will talk about weather, about health, how are you? And I say, well, we're under bombardments. Oh, please stop. We don't want to talk about politics, about war. We are far away from that. Don't mess our good conversation. This led me to a decision. I'm not communicating with my relatives anymore because I'm tired of this. This is like very comfortable position. Sit there far away from Ukraine and tell me that, well, you may misunderstand, and yes, maybe Putin had reasons for attacking, and well, you're exaggerating, and well, we are against war. Of course, we're against war, but no, we are not going to say a word to protest or to the difference, principal difference. Maybe I told someone, maybe I didn't tell. Ukrainians and Russians, principal difference. For over 1,000 years of Ukrainian history, we never had kings or emperors. All the kings, all the rulers we had, all the rulers we elected on democratic elections. So we never had such a notion as a king that will, we have a democratic society, like direct democracy. Russia, since the very beginning of its existence, they learned from the Mongolian system of rule. The leader, the emperor is on top. Everybody under him are slaves. Maybe some slaves are rich, maybe some slaves are poor, but they are slaves. He can kill, execute, or do anything to anyone, even the top officials. Same story with Russia. So they will never understand why, when people of Ukraine were not satisfied with the previous president in 2013, why in 2 days millions of people were on the streets, and why in Russia still the most massive protest was like a couple of hundred people with 140 million population. This doesn't happen in Russia, and we should not expect this. Regarding the latest escalations, is going to develop. I think that I mentioned the peaceful negotiations and the peace talks and the dialogue. I mentioned this, I think, 3 months ago, or maybe earlier, that on my opinion, no dialogue is possible, but we'll see. And after that, like Ukraine never officially refused of it, I said so that I doubt it, but my president, my parliament, my government never refused to talk. But then what happened? I mean, if you want to talk, I'm talking about Russia, if they want to talk, why would they hold this referenda? Why would they annex my territories? Do they expect that after the annexation of part of my land, we will be more easier to talk? And do they think that after bombardments of Kyiv today and many cities of Ukraine today, we'll be more flexible to talk? This is very wrong. And now I think all my government, all my people declared very, very, very directly. Peace talks can be possible, but under 2 conditions. First, all troops of Russian Federation off Ukrainian territory. Second, not with this president. So I think it's pretty clear. No talks is possible. So I don't doubt it, and I haven't doubted it for long time, because I know Russians too well. I've grown up in this country. Moscow, yeah. The Indonesian nation does not need a government that is skilled in the art of diplomacy for help Indonesia did the same with Ukraine. What? Scotland sends somebody. Well, these questions about history, I would not. Let's discuss it separately. It's like, would it help if Indonesia did the same? Well, it's historical, very provocative question. Let's discuss separately. It's I mean, if we see, you see, if there is a conflict, military conflict, for example, the great example of military conflict is the conflict between India and China on the border. This is conflict. They sometimes, have this. They sometimes open fire. Sometimes they offend each other. That sort of things. But this is still a conflict. If we have the full-scale invasion of the neighbor without any reasons, no reasons whatsoever, we were not threatening them. They have nuclear weapons, we don't. They have missiles and aviation, and we didn't. And we were much smaller. We were badly equipped. Why would we attack? It's stupid. It's like you, being an amateur boxer of 50 kilos, would challenge Muhammad Ali, or I don't know. It's stupid. If you think about it, very, very, very straightforward, stupid. And we did not attack. They invaded and attacked. And the war is on my territory, not Russian territory. That's why, I mean, I wonder what people should say in this situation. Dari, possible to resume Ukrainian counter-offensive in southern Ukraine. How about recent bridge incident in Ukraine considered a strategic victory? No. Well, about the Kerch bridge in Crimea. If Ukraine really can destroy it with long-range missiles we presumably don't have at the moment, so we would not just damage a part of it. If we destroy, we would destroy the whole bridge, like make it unfunctional. And this will require just a nice bomb or couple of nice missiles. But I don't think we have this in our disposal. This bridge is very important for logistics. They deliver ammunition, bombs, missiles, soldiers, diesel for tanks through this bridge. So this is, yes, this is delivery of death. This is the delivery of death to Crimea and then to Ukraine. So yes, we would like it to stop. We would like to break it, yes. But strategic victory, no. It will be rather symbolic victory, because for Putin, this bridge means a lot. And Putin, as a guy of very superstitious guy, he believes in all stuff and all symbols, in all ciphers and numbers, numerology and stuff. He would be really sad about that. But I don't think we have this. But what about southern Ukraine? We are counter-offending in southern Ukraine. I think it's a matter of weeks, maybe, that we will liberate the Syria's directions. And Russians, we don't even need to fight them. Actually, we need to cut them off the logistics, and they will run. It's what happened in Kharkiv region, in northern part, while liberated. They just refuse to fight. They run. They even leave the tanks. They leave everything. They fight, or they run or surrender. So basically, no many options. Counter-offensive in southern Ukraine is moving, and we have every day we have few hundreds of square kilometers or 1,000+ square kilometers liberated from Russian invaders. So it's okay. It will be going on, and it will be successful. By the way, if no other questions, I just tell you one thing. Do you know why 2022? It's something that people asked me before. Why not 2021? Why not 2020? Why not 2023? They were capable of a big attack even in 2014, because at that time we didn't have anything at all. Why 22? Does anyone guess? It's symbolic, I would say. It's very symbolic. Okay. In 1922, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics was established. So it's 100th anniversary of the dead Soviet Union, which Putin expected to rebuild, reconstruct, and renew. It's my version, but it looks like very much reliable.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Do we have any other questions?
The rise of new communism of the Soviet Russia. You see, Russia has never had other mentality, but very similar to the Soviet mentality, to the communist mentality. That's why when it was like empire, and then Bolsheviks came and spoke out about Bolshevism, communism, the whole Russia immediately accepted everything. It was very close. It sounds good. It sounded as if they would not be pressed to work too much, and they will have everything ready. Very comfortable. That's for the lazy nations, for the nation not capable of producing even the toilet paper, not talking about the cars or I don't know what, washing machines. Russia is capable of producing only oil and gas and timber, but only with the imported equipment. So that's the communist ideology was the ideal ground, found the ideal ground in minds of Russian people. It's mentality of slaves. How does China view Russian escalation of the war? Maybe you should ask China, I think. How does China view Russian escalation of the war? I think the Chinese spokesman of the Minister of Foreign Affairs gave the comments on that yesterday, and it was like usual, comments about nothing. I didn't understand what he meant. What was the meaning of what he said? I don't understand. Something like could bear more concerns about something else. We are disturbed about the situation around something. I mean, if anyone calls Ukrainian crisis or even the Ukrainian-Russian conflict, I feel like surprised, because let us call the things what they are. We have crisis in Ukraine as a result of invasion, as a result of aggression. We have humanitarian crisis. We have economic crisis. The world has food crisis. The world has energy crisis, logistic crisis, and crisis of diplomacy and trust as a result of Russian invasion. Why do we call this conflict? So yeah, so it's Chinese vision. I don't agree with that, and I really, honestly, I'm very disappointed with what Chinese government says and does with regard to the Russian aggression. Really. What is Ukraine's message to the non-aligned movement, where many countries worried to become provided geopolitical conflict? Okay. My message will be absolutely clear. Non-allied movement does not mean indifference and non-involvement in any bad or dangerous things that exist in this world. We know many precedents when non-aligned movement countries joined some operations for obvious reasons. Non-aligned does not mean, or it means that you are not a member of any alliance, military alliance, or any, then, for example, if you don't agree, what is about alliance? You are a member of alliance, then someone attacks alliance, even if you don't like it, you join and fight back. You are participate, you are in game. Non-allied movement, the difference is, if anything happens, you can join, you can refrain, you can do nothing, you can do something. It's your free will, whether do or not. Don't confuse it with indifference, right? At least non-allied movement countries can help from the humanitarian point of view to anyone, any nation, any country who is suffering from war, from natural disaster, from terrorist attacks. I don't see any difference here. We are talking about justice and humanity, or about what? I'm talking about justice and humanity. If you believe that what Russia does is not just and not human, then help Ukraine. If you believe that what Russia does is human and just, then you can do nothing. It's like very simple. And the wider geopolitical conflict, the only option for wider geopolitical conflict, if we don't stop Russian aggressor as soon as possible. That will be the only option to prevent the wide international global conflict. And don't forget that we are not only talking about the weapons, about someone attacks someone. After Russia started nuclear blackmailing, I think many countries, obviously not very democratic, could think about, well, Russians do this, why shouldn't we do this? Or maybe not nuclear blackmailing, maybe some other blackmailing. But if Russia succeeds, why shouldn't we do this? And this could lead to the real conflicts and wars in many parts of the world if we don't stop and if we don't tell the aggressor that this doesn't work. And don't forget that they are the source, potential source and grounds for unrests and conflicts will be the rise of prices. Well, in some poor countries, I would say in Africa, Asia, and somewhere else, you know what might happen if the people feel that they don't have money to eat, to buy food? I don't think they will be happy with everything around, right? So these internal conflicts can be caused by, as a result of Russian aggression not being stopped. That's my vision of wider geopolitical conflict. If we keep silence, if we don't intrude, if we don't do anything, this will only prolong the conflict. This will not resolve the conflict. This will prolong the crisis. What is Ukraine message on attack? Will Russia soon run out of missiles? Are they heavily sanctioned by? Yes, well, you see, Russians are not capable of producing weapons, full stop. If they don't get the components from China, Taiwan, France, Germany, they would not be capable of producing tanks, armored vehicles, aircrafts, helicopters, missiles, nothing. It's like pretty obvious. They are not capable of producing cars, just the small cars, you know, like no, only with imported components, not talking about the complicated military stuff. Russians are not capable of this. That's why they will run out of missiles sooner or later, I hope sooner, and they will not be capable to produce. They can only produce the missiles, you know, like the point of missile, if it costs a lot of money, is that to hit certain target, maybe this will be the tank, maybe this will be the ship, maybe this will be the military plant, right? So the precision is very important. If you just drop the missile somewhere, it will hit the hospital, it will hit the maternity house or school, as they always do, like during last 7 months, because no precision. 500 meters to the right, 500 meters to the left, it's like that. That's what are they capable of. But it is not really like how army fights. Okay, you can kill many people, but you will not destroy the army of the opponent, and you will lose because the opponent's army is ready and it's destroying your troops day by day. Yeah. So no, Russia is finished as producer and exporter of military equipments and weapons. Forget about Russia on this market. Just forget. Manufacturer replace the wars now. Yeah. How Indonesia government role so far as leading to mediate the situation? Okay. Honestly, I appreciate the efforts of Indonesian government to, well, at least it was worth trying. It was good try by the President Joko Widodo, whom I respect, because it was a very brave decision to visit Ukraine in the end of June. Very brave. Not a single Asian leader dared to do this. He visited Ukraine. After this, he went to Russia, obviously with two purposes: to mediate for peace and to unblock the deliveries of grains. Deblockation of Ukrainian ports was achieved due to the efforts of, to my knowledge, to the efforts of Turkish president and United Nations Secretary General. That's at least it's so said and declared. I don't know about the role of Indonesia here. Sorry, it's my knowledge. Maybe I don't know something. And obviously, the peace mediation failed, because not because of Indonesia. Indonesia had very good and positive intentions. It failed because of Russia is not capable of talks. It failed because the next day Jokowi left to Indonesia. Putin resumed the shellings and bombings of Ukrainian territory. As simple as this. If you talk, you don't bomb. If you bomb, you don't talk. So I don't believe in peaceful mediation at all, despite the good intentions of many partners of Ukraine, despite the good intentions of like Indonesia, like Turkey and other friends. And I'm trying to deliver this message to everyone. Don't believe that Putin will sit down and talk. He can, but only on his conditions. Okay, what we occupied is ours. Now let's talk. And you know, all the people killed and during this war, just forget about it. All the infrastructure destroyed, forget about it. Let's sit down and talk. We had the talks like that for 8 years from 2014, right? 8 years of absolutely nothing. 8 years of wasted time and you know, wasted nerves and all. Nothing happened. With the mediation of Germany, France, and whoever else, like Minsk stuff and all that. Useless and impossible because someone doesn't want to talk. As simple as this. Okay. Well, thank you very much for questions. If anyone has any more, I'm really, I apologize once again for this accident, but it's not up to me to decide. You know what happens really. It's tough. I called my parents and they say that my mom said that she was in a hospital and then it blown up and like all the building was like to like and the earthquake and damaged and all. I called my other relatives, like my wife's mother in different small town near Kiev, and in this town the electric generation plant was damaged, not destroyed but damaged, and they spend 24 hours, no water, no electricity, no telephone connection, nothing, no internet. So yeah, things not very cheerful to talk about, not very happy things happening. Yeah. And I am grateful to Pagbeni and LESPERSSI for really arranging this, and I am grateful for everyone who participated. However, you know, we have this unexpected situation. So if you have any other questions, I am ready to answer. If not, I wish you peace. I wish you stay safe, healthy, all your families, you know, in your country, in your neighborhood. I wish only this.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Our utmost condolences here to the people of Ukraine for this really tough and challenging times. We appreciate that that you have set aside your time to replace the Deputy Defense Minister, and we totally understand that this is not the best of time for people of Kiev and Ukraine. Total
force majeure, you know.
Yes, and we pray that everybody in Kiev, I mean, is healthy. They can survive this. So we'll meet again soon.
Inshallah.
Yes, and I would like to ask everybody here to just switch on their camera so we can have a picture taken together.
Please turn on your camera and
yes. Okay, thank you everybody for joining us today. We apologize for the force majeure, but we hope that we can reorganize this in the very near future. And again, we extend our prayers and hope for the Ukrainian people to survive the next few days. Thank you, Mr. Ambassador, for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We hope your
Peace and
family is
security
safe
to
and
all
sound.
Okay.
to everyone of you.
Thank you,
gentlemen and
Your
ladies.
Excellency.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Excellency.
sir. Thank you, Your Excellency.
Slava Ukraine.
Thank you. I know, Pak Benny.
Yeah, sure.
Merdeka atau
Oke.
mati.
Heroyam Slava.
Slava Ukraine. Never surrender.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador.
Oke, thank you.
We hope your family is safe and
Okay.
sound.
Thank you, Your Excellency.
Excellency.
Thank you, Your Excellency.
Slava Ukraine.
Waduh. Hah?
Jundi.
Eh,
Tadi
ta-
fotonya udah tuh.
tadi si
Foto
Yusan
udah ya?
tadi si Yusan nanyain gua belum sempat gua balas.
Apa?
Si Yusa chat gua, tapi belum sempat gua balas. Bang Yusa masih ada di sini nggak?
WA aja, by WA aja.
Oh.
WhatsApp aja, WhatsApp.
Oh iya, siap.
Ada tadi.
Tadi fotonya udah tuh.
Udah. Tadi si Yusan nanyain gua belum.
Apa?
Si Yusa chat gua, tapi